You can now trigger ActionQ events by calling a command line and passing any number of arguments. The command line starts with a path to the ActionQ service, a -e flag standing for please execute, the name of the event. Each argument is constructed as a name of a token, colon, and the value of the token. As a quick reminder, the other way of triggering events is via cycle time monitoring. This is afforded by setting the sleep cycle, in this case every 3 seconds. This is set as a global setting, and then within each event we can specify a sleep multiplier. This image highlights all the normal sleep multiplier cases, but here at the bottom you can see the event that we will demonstrate in this video, the report request command, that has a sleep multiplier of 999,999. That's a special value that indicates to ActionQ that this event is not triggered via cycle time monitoring. It is triggered only via command lines. Events now have a new tokens property where you can specify multiple tokens separated by 2 caret signs. And for each token, you specify the token name, colon, and the default value. If a command line argument provides an argument with the same name as a token name, then the value passed in via the command line argument overrides the default value for the token. To demonstrate, here is the ActionQ manager. I will launch the Manage Event dialog and look at the properties for the report request command event that has this special sleep multiplier value. The tokens for the event are defined here. You can see that they're separated by 2 carets, but if I go into the GUI for editing, these 2 tokens get split into 2 lines, _ID and _email2 with some default values. When I click OK, these 2 lines will be merged into a single line separated by 2 carets. Where do we use these tokens? The first place is in the SQL statement. We're using where ID equals ID. So if I test, we can see the value of that row. The other place where we use the ID token is in the response SQL, the SQL statement that's going to fire after the event gets processed successfully. And in here we're saying update command queued flag, that's the table, set processed equals 1, where ID equals the value of the ID token. The event also calls an exe, in this case the VisualCut executable, and passes arguments to it. So in this case it is passing the tokens from the SQL statement that specify which report and what arguments to pass to VisualCut. In the send email response, we're specifying that the email to will be sent to the email to token, which gets passed from the command line arguments. So if I preview this, you can see that in this case it says edo@milletsoftware.com. Also in the email subject, I've embedded the ID token so that it's going to say report request number and would specify the record number from the SQL Server table. So we're monitoring only this event, and it's monitored for command line call. Here's a batch file that contains a command line, the path to the ActionQ service, -e, the name of the event, and some values for the arguments. The email2 argument is going to be passed into the email2 token with this value, and the ID argument is going to be passed to the ID token with a value of 1 in this case. This batch file can be triggered from a scheduled task, or you can simply trigger the command lines directly via any application. Let's run this batch file and see how the ActionQ service responds. So immediately it told us that the command line was queued for this event, report request command. The process recognized that the command line had 2 arguments that matched into 2 tokens. The SQL response ran. The exe response, which was the call to VisualCut, got triggered. And an email was triggered sending us a confirmation that the report request was processed. Here is the email response from ActionQ, including the dynamic token from the ID argument. And here is the email sent by VisualCut containing the report requested.